Welcome back to another episode of the Rich by Monday podcast.
Yay.
Uh, I'm your host, Jared Wilkins, aka the Google Grad,
And I'm Dorrance Creighton.
and this is episode 8 of season 2. And this is not the Kanye episode.
Oh, yeah. I'm not talking about that.
We actually are going to talk about that.
I know. We're going to get into it. We
Dorrance
are
tried
going
to
to
be
get into it.
slick and call me yesterday and talk about it, so we didn't have to talk about it today.
Like I said, I'm already, right. Yeah, these are the things I have to say. All right, we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So I've said all the things I was going to say.
Well,
Are we getting
before we
directly
get
into that?
no, so before we get into
Let's
that,
see.
I mean, we kind of are, but before we do, so you've been kind of MIA on social
I
media.
have not been MIA.
You have been MIA
I have been found.
for the last 9 days. You haven't like interacted on social media.
Really? It's been that long?
That's since the last time we actually. You know what? No, it hasn't been that long.
I don't think it's been that long.
No, it's been at least 5 days.
One day I was just like, you know what? I'm sick of it. And as what's the name says, a comedian, can't remember his name. Tony something. Tony.
Tony Rock.
No, the other Tony. He's an online comedian. He does
Oh,
like the
Tony
voices
Baker.
and stuff. Tony Baker.
Yeah, Tony
Yeah.
Baker. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of his lines. But I didn't have any like major reasoning or goodbye speech. It was just like, you know what? I think it came from I was limiting the time I was on Instagram, where you can actually set up an actual time. You can set up like how many hours you want to be on there, and it logs you off. Or
Mm-hmm.
a pop up comes up and says, "Okay, you've been on here 2 hours. Do you want to continue for 15 minutes, or do you want to ignore for the rest of the day?" And usually, I'll pop up once I start the challenge. I would be on. So previously, I would just keep saying, "Oh no, ignore, 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 ignore." We're still scrolling. Give me some time. Or responding to messages or whatever. And then when I started doing the challenge, I had more things to do, so I really didn't have time to just be scrolling all the time. And what happened was the 2 hours that I set was sufficient enough. You'd be like, okay, you're 2 hours up, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm done. But then I started thinking, 2 hours a day, what could I do with that time if I wasn't doing that at all? So one day I just deleted all of them. And I was like, you know what, I'm out. And it's been good. It's been good. So what I'm doing, instead of just acting like the outside world's not happening, because I also enjoy doing that too. I still want to be informed. So I'm going straight old school uh, newspaper. I ordered my first newspaper. You laughing at me. People think I'm crazy. You like my dad be laughing at me, be telling him all the type of philosophies I got going. He just started laughing like he'd be like, I mean, it's working though, but but it's always I got something for something. But anyways, so it's the idea of consolidating the content that I want to see. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's local news. It's like right in my city, uh, news from at the county level, and then at the state level, and then world news, or country and then world news. So for me, it's just the main thing for doing that also is getting the information and not having to go into the comment section and then look at the opinion of the people who are receiving the information, and then usually whoever's putting the media out, they also have an opinion attached
Mm-hmm.
to it. So I'm just like, you know what, my thinking is being is you know my process of bringing in content is being uh, ruined by others' opinions that's already kind of shoehorned in just the news article. Like, just give me the news. I can make it
Mm-hmm.
my own opinions. So, yeah, that's my latest project. So it's not like I'm off of social media forever type thing. I haven't even thought that far out. But I for sure want to use social media as a way to only put out the content that I want to put out and then just log off. And I'm just gonna just put my phone number in my bio, and I'm basically just a real life in real life influencer, and you can just call me or text me if you need me. Um, but I'm logging out, and then I log in every time like you got mail, and I log in. I don't know, it might be once a week to check messages and everything, but it's too much, man. It's too much, and
They gonna call you crazy.
I'm out.
They gonna call you crazy. Every post gonna have your phone number on it
Right.
in the
Yeah.
caption.
Hey, call me or email me if you have a. Actually, probably don't even do. I probably won't even do that. I think people who, for one, it probably won't be my. Well, it won't be my direct number. It'll be my number to my office or my computer phone. But yeah, I'm just yeah, it's been good. It's been good for me. So I was in the house. So this is one of like the local papers that I read, and I'm in the house and I have the paper open. Got my legs crossed. I'm just reading the paper. And Jazz is talking to me. And, I'm just talking. I'm talking shit like I'm always doing. And I say, this is nice. I can talk it over the paper. Sometimes I put my paper down. I talk a little mess, and then I put the paper and go back to my reading my article. I'm like, I like this. So that's an added benefit. But yeah, so
It's just interesting how, like, as much as we try to strip away at all the things that we used to do, like in
hmm
previous generations, we ultimately find ourselves like reverting back to that.
hmm yeah,
So, and people are always like, "Well, no, that'll never be like that again." And then here you are at 35 buying
hmm
newspapers.
right, right, yeah, yeah. It's something I thought about for years too, even before social media really blew up. And I think at that time maybe it was just out of my price range. Really, I remember papers being really expensive to get, and now since they probably struggling, it's like okay, you can get the digital and you can get the paper for pretty cheap. So yeah, so it's cool. It's cool for me.
So do you get like the national news? Like, what was the paper
hmm
back in the day? Was it the Sun, the San Bernardino Sun,
Yeah,
or
that
something
was
like
around
that?
us. In Rialto.
Um, I think that was for the whole county, right?
Um, I believe they cover San Bernardino, Fontana. I think parts of Rancho and maybe close to um, Redlands. But then if you go further out, they have their own paper too,
Mm.
like Redlands, Loma Linda, that whole area. And then the Fontana Herald, I believe, and of course Fontana and surrounding areas. Um, so yeah,
So
but
this
yeah,
came
it does have some national news too.
this came. So the way this happened, just from outside looking in.
hmm
So the day you asked me if I had a link to the Kanye video,
Uh-huh.
the whole interview.
Yeah.
So and the next day you disappeared. So I figured, okay, well, well, maybe,
Right, right, right.
maybe he wanted to watch this and then not be influenced, throughout
Mm.
the week from comments and new
Oh,
material.
yeah. Okay.
That's kind of what I was thinking, like new
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
material until we could actually like, go back to it.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
so that's kind of why. That's what I was
That's interesting
thinking.
perspective. You're like, hold on. It has to be a reason. I know this fool up to something.
Well, because it was like literally like the next day. It was like, yo, I need this article, blah blah blah, and then
hmm
like after that, it was like Dorrance has left the chat.
Right. I know, right?
So
No,
I just I
there was
just
no it wasn't no correlation. I know that was the drink champs um interview. They got taken off social media, and I called my favorite pirater. I knew who would have the information that I could, have that resource quickly. But
So
yeah,
I mean,
so I
hmm
guess the rule is for me, and I guess the idea, if it pops up in real life through other people, and it rises to a level where it enters my real life, and people around me are asking me, "Hey, what do you think about that?" Or it's just part of the conversation, then I might decide to to dove into it a little bit and try to figure out what's going on.
so
So
did it like did it get to you in real life? Like all this Kanye shit?
yeah, my brother talked about it. Well, we mentioned it a little bit on the last podcast, and at that time I didn't see it. I didn't see anything. Um, I just heard the fallout, like it was on Trevor Noah. I mentioned that. I was watching that right before we started the podcast, and he was getting into it. And then we started, and then I still didn't have any context of what was going on. So when we brought it up briefly, I didn't really have much to say about it,
Hmm
because I had no context. And then, so after the podcast, I talked to my brother for a little bit. We had a conversation on it. Still, I didn't listen to it. So he was
hmm
like, "Yeah, you got to kind of listen to it before you speak on it, or because I know you don't know." So I'm like, okay. So at that time, I still wasn't ready to go into it. Then I was
hmm
at my folks' house, and then they brought it up, and I'm just like, okay. And then so I mean, that was like, I think that was the two main examples where it start rising up. And then as I started looking at my apps for my newspapers, because I'm a member now, some of the stories from the fallout start bubbling up off there too. So I'm just like, okay,
hmm
Then I went actually just started listening to it yesterday. So that's October 26th. That was Wednesday. I had a long drive, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna put this on. I actually started with something else. Started with SBA funding, and then that was kind of put me to sleep. I was like, let me put something else on because it was early in the morning, and then I put that on, and that woke me right up. Like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, because they loud and drunk.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
So I mean, we already kind of touched on it yesterday, but what was your? Because I have a few things I'd like to say about it. But what was your takeaway for the listener? What was your takeaway from the interview, and then kind of
Mm,
your perspective on like the response from the public, or just the response in general?
okay. My main takeaway is he's wilding. He's completely wilding. The the anti-Semitic remarks and the way it's done is just it just oozes of racism and ignorance, you know. And I'm just like, nah, this is not it. This is not it. Um, I don't believe what this guy is saying. Um, I don't secondhand it. I don't amen it. I'm just like, nah, this is not what it is. You freezing up, son. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, just slow down, son. So it's just it's a lot to unpack because this is a person who can't really um, successfully explain himself and his position and his ideals, and then that they're all incongruent too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you say one thing and it like I think he said something about um what's one example? Uh,
I mean,
you
it
know,
was a
I
thousand.
remember. I know. I'm just trying to figure out like where to start. It's kind of like where to start. And my main thing last time in the podcast was like, I don't want to go into this because it's not worth it, and it's really not worth it because there's no meat there at all.
Mm-mm.
There's nothing positive that comes out of anything he said. He has no real position, and it looks like a person who is just really complaining about business dealings and then making a boogeyman out of a whole culture of people, and then also saying he's jealous, also jealous of those people, And I don't know, maybe that's the root of racism is jealousy. Jealousy of one group, and you don't have this and they have that. You know, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, um, people are kind of championing it in so many ways, but it's still racism because it's like it. It's kind of like attributed to like positive racism. I forget what you call it, what the wording is, but it's like when you
Mm-hmm.
say black people are really good at sports, are really good at singing, or really good at playing instruments. It's like, well,
Yeah.
no, that's not all black people. It's just blanketing everyone. And the idea that all uh, Jewish people run the world or um, are in his way in terms of business and all that. It's just a wild blanket statement to say, and and blame one culture for something that you're dealing with. There might be individual people, and blame it on their race and their culture and uh, their religion. It's just like it's wild. It's wild to do, and then at the same time try to weaponize black culture and say, they're not letting me do this, so now we should do this. It's like, no, 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 no. That's you out there doing something, and now you want to
Yeah.
weapon the black culture and or what you consider the black culture, and weaponize them and start an uprising to do what? He's like, I want to get my kids back, I want to get my family back, and I want to have the right to name my shoe. That's what the rallying cry is. I can't name my shoe and pick the colorways of my shoes at Adidas.
I didn't even know that that was part of it.
That was what he said.
Yeah, I didn't
I'm
know that.
like, this is weird. This is weird. This is
Well,
it's
they own it,
complete
which
completely
we
weird.
talked about on the last show. They own it, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm completely against that. All that messaging is very familiar of racist ideology. A lot of ideology from uh, the Ku Klux Klan, white supremacists. It's the same thing, but just a different form. It's just somebody else in it now who um, who has a darker hue. And
Oh, you know that he did you know that he praised like so when he did the whole TMZ thing a couple years ago,
mm,
there is a section of that footage that they didn't air where he
mm,
talked about Hitler
mm,
and he praised Hitler.
yeah, see, shit's
And so,
crazy, man.
so look, but so they looked out for him, right? And they said we're not gonna do this because we know he's not okay. We're not gonna put this out there like that. We're just gonna. The rest of it is bad enough. Like he doesn't need this part of it to for the people to
Yeah,
see. And
and Harvey is Jewish. What's his name? Is it Harvey?
Harvey Levin,
Owner of TMZ. Yeah.
I didn't know
So
that either, but yeah, but they looked out for him, and here he is again.
wilding
This is
out.
probably why they really mad. This is what they really. This is
Yeah.
this is what they're really mad at. Like, yo, we tried to look
Yeah.
out for you, man.
Man, he's he's crazy. He's not crazy. Well, yeah, that. But that's not only what I want to say. He he's not representative of all black people, and he really think he is. You know, and I think that's that's more insulting um, to the black community
hmm
to be like, I am culture. I'm doing this, and now since they won't let me do this, we need to all do this. It's weird, man. It's weird. It's weird to have that type of position. Um,
It's weird to believe it.
yeah, it really is. And
So
I know you was telling me about the fallout on online. I really haven't seen a lot of it
they're
or
really. I mean,
any of it.
I wouldn't really call it fallout. It's just
Well, the opinions
yeah, I'm
of people who
surprised.
support his position, I should say.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised at it makes you think like this maybe the only way you can fully understand what's happening to him is if you have someone close to you who has some kind of a mental like illness.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're close enough to you to where like you can see somebody who's not, who's not okay, and then you see Kanye and it's like, okay, well I know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
But the average person sees it as this guy is brilliant. For some strange reason, he's like that's the thing that throws me off the most is like the whole response to it is he's brilliant. He's exposing something. I don't know what he's exposing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and he'll be all right. like,
It's like,
what? What?
yeah, I've heard that argument. When he's a billionaire, let's see what's going to happen. I think people kind of
What does it
waiting to
have to do
see.
with anything? Like, I
People
don't
kind
even.
of
I don't.
they kind of waiting to see um, what how far he can take it. And I think really what other people are waiting on is trying to figure out, oh, can we do that now? There's a lot of
I
closet people.
think.
It's like,
I think
oh,
you're giving
okay,
people a lot of credit.
yeah. I mean, I do that a lot.
I think you're giving people a lot of. I don't think anybody has the intention to like. They're. They just want to see him crash and burn and blame somebody. Kanye
Oh,
is giving them somebody to blame, right? That's what this is right now.
right.
Kanye is giving them, like you said, a boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
And just as we talked about in the last episode about the most valuable thing in marketing, those people feel like they're in their position because of some force.
Yeah.
Kanye is here as a billionaire telling you this force is doing this to me. If they're
Mm-hmm.
doing this to me, imagine how they treat you. So now he's trying to
Mm-hmm.
identify with you because he's
Yeah.
having an issue. So now he needs your
Yeah.
he needs your
He's
support.
gonna he's gonna pull you in to rally up, and it's interesting that people would even jump on the bandwagon without any context.
They don't need context.
If he's just yelling out different names and people that's involved and saying they won't let me do this, I'm that, and it's like you don't even have like a true appeal to people that you even want to rally around this idiotic topic. So it's like what are you talking about? He's like, what are we doing here? You
Man,
know, and then in the same breath he'll say, you know, I had to go get a fleet of Rolls Royces in a $50 million mansion just so I can compete with Puff Daddy and argue with him. And then in the next voice he'll say, yeah, there's people in Chicago dying every day. So it's like, but then they won't allow me to name my shoe. It's like, how are we commingling all these different topics? We talking about poverty, um, um, the black issues in the black community, and then you relate them to not being able to name your shoe in your colorway. It's like that's
because
what's
the only
insulting.
thing the only thing that matters to Kanye is Kanye. And the
Yeah.
sooner that people understand that, well, they won't because they don't want to believe it.
Well,
They want
he
somebody to
says it.
blame.
He's if you're listening, he says it. He says it's a part of the interview when he says, um, "Who's the most important person to me?" or
Kanye.
something like that. And they're like, your mom or Donda, kids. He said, no, no, close. He said, me. So he's
Yeah.
telling you directly how he feels about things, but also trying to leverage your anger and discontent for his pleasure and his
His
gain.
benefit. Yep.
And I'm just like, people don't see this. Like this is like simple, one-on-one manipulation that you see that's going on right in front of you. And
Doesn't
that's another
matter.
thing that's always going on. There's always something. It's another thing about social media. There's always something where somebody wants to rally your anger and your discontent on what's going on, and it's kind of like feeding the social media economics of anger and discontent online, and then you're just part of it. Kanye does this. Oh, here I'm mad about this. This is how I feel about it. You know, somebody does this. I'm mad about this. How I feel. This is my opinion. It's like we are putting too much emphasis and time into being angry about every topic that comes up. And it's not that you can't have a position on what's going on, but I also want to know about your mission. What's the everyday mission that you're doing, and you're stopping doing that to give an opinion on this thing that popped up in in the world, or in the fear of um, entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that because really everything that we put energy into, we take energy from somewhere else.
Somewhere else. Yep.
So whatever mission you're working on, it can be simple as you're at home washing dishes, and now you stop doing that to read about the latest fallout of something, right? You can be giving your kids a bath, and instead of talking to them and telling, asking about how they day went, or conversing, you're scrolling on your phone trying to catch up on the latest Kanye, debacle, or whatever it is. So whatever you do in terms of taking away from your mission of that day, and you ruin it. You ruin that energy, and you transfer that energy to something that doesn't matter. And I talked about that a little bit on the last podcast. I'm just like, and I knew it. I was like, no, I'm not going into that. And I knew it. I went into it, and it's some wasted bull, that I had to ingest. And it's just like, come on, man. It's
I
just
didn't want to do it either. I didn't want to talk about it either. But the only reason why, if I didn't see certain people's responses to it, I wouldn't have anything to say.
yeah.
Cause I'm okay with ignoring. I've been ignoring Kanye for a long time. Like I'm okay with like ignoring him. But I also understand. Uh, I also understand that he's not okay. People assume he's okay because of who they think he is. They, in their mind, they can't believe that a person wouldn't be okay and be able to do what he's doing. Right? Like, there's no way a person who could be sick could be able to make music and have a career like this and draw shoes.
Hmm.
Because that's what he does. He makes music and draw shoes and clothes.
Yeah.
So
I
they
don't
don't
even
see
want
it
to
that way.
see. For me, I don't even want to go into diagnosing them, because um, that almost that's not my place. Whatever. That's it. That's period. And it's been some amount of time where he was not at the point of having these different rants and his different opinions. But I think the main thing is I see a man with no framing, right? And this is for anything and anybody. If you
Hmm.
don't have any frame to stand on, any foundation of belief or ideology, or um all these different things. I want to say not psychology, but anyways, if you don't have
Different
any,
theories.
yeah, different theories or philosophies is what I want to say. So if you don't have any framing foundation on philosophy and what you believe, and how you're going to move and what your mission is, you can easily be dismantled by anyone, right? And this is where somebody like a Candace Owens comes in and says, "Hey, this is what's going on. Go check out this documentary." Then he looks at the documentary, and now that becomes part of his framing, his framework of what he believes, right? And then, and so it's basically all external stimuli from media, right? This is video, documentary, music, and everything he sees personally and experience becomes his framework, because he says he doesn't read because he don't want to. So there, there, which is wild, right? This is somebody who wants to run for president, and he doesn't read. He's like, I've never finished a novel. It's like, okay, um, but like this is your leader. This is your leader. So
Yeah.
I feel like if somebody doesn't have a framing or a philosophy they live by, and have some people that can help them ground them in a belief system or a worldview, anybody can easily insert their own worldview, their own narrative into this person, and then just work them as a puppet. That's what I see,
No,
and
that's 100%. That's correct.
that goes for anybody. You know, down to your own household and your own person. If you don't have anything a foundation to any strong framing that builds you and makes you a person, anything that pops up, you just on that road now. You're on that wave now. Kanye says this. Kanye believes this. Oh, you know what? That sounds pretty good. I'm gonna, yeah. Then people take on that worldview. Yeah, now I believe that. It's like, come on.
Well, of course they do, because they need a reason to blame their shortcomings on.
Yeah,
Kanye is that's all this boils down to that. And I wasn't trying to like diagnose him. This is just stuff that's known. Like this is stuff that
yeah,
he was on medication and he's not on medication right now.
yeah.
Why is it that every time he's off medication this happens?
It's interesting too. When just watching this one interview, I can see everything he said. He kind of tries to speak in bars, right? He'll say like a four bar, and then everybody around him go, "Ooh," they receive that as the gospel. They receive that as the gospel now. Like, okay, thank you for imparting that wisdom on us. Yeah, appreciate that. I'm gonna make that part of my framing. That's what I believe now. I'm gonna run with that.
I
And
mean
it's like,
if I'm him after all of this, like once he finally comes back to Earth, I'm suing Candace Owens. And
for
I don't think he would have a legitimate suit,
mhm.
but I would sue her for some level of dignity.
It's just like, no, they brainwashed me. They brainwashed me. That's what
Cause
happened.
she gassed him up. She got him so gassed up to run out in the middle of the street,
Mm-hmm.
and she gets to go home, and then he just
Yep.
gets fired from everything. He gets fired from every single position that
Yep.
he worked at. Like he got fired from the bank. He got fired from
Mm-hmm.
all of his jobs, bro. How all of your jobs fire you at the same time on the same
Yep.
day?
Yep. I seen he walked in the Skechers. They walked him out. Um, the owner of Skechers, I think his name was like Robert. I think it's Robert
Something,
Greenberg or something like that.
something,
They
yeah.
did. They started Skechers, but now his son owns it. Michael something,
Hmm.
Michael Greensberg or something, and they're Jewish. You got to go. It's just like it's so interesting that somebody can also say, well, it might be an example of double speak is saying I'm jealous of these people and the way they do things, but also you cut them down in in the same sentence,
Because they
and they
won't
say,
accept him. Like this is why I said you should watch the Charlemagne one before you watch that one. But Charlemagne goes into a lot of that because he has a better relationship with Kanye.
mm-hmm,
Well, I won't say better. They communicate beyond like stuff you see.
right,
So he said that he wasn't trying to give Kanye his new number for like the longest time, and somehow he they ended up talking or whatever, right?
mm-hmm,
Actually, no, I won't even go that far into it. But he says Kanye doesn't care about none of this. Like he said there's been times when they've been together, like and he's going crazy, and then he'll look to you and wink, and then look at the camera and go crazy
mm-hmm, right,
because he only cares about himself. Now I don't know Kanye personally, so I don't want to make this like we just shitting on Kanye because that's not what it is. It's more so just I'm more disappointed in the way people are responding to what they're seeing.
that's always been our point is
Yeah.
how could you the people be so easily duped,
Yeah, like
and
how are we watching the same thing, bro? Like
we always going into like how could you be fooled by this, and I keep saying something else is going to happen, so you have to be armed and understand what's what no matter what form it comes to you in. You already know. If it's a scammer trying to push the next newest thing that's gonna make you rich, or it's the next entertainer that wants to feed some new ideology to you that this not gonna work out for your benefit, and it's just trash. Um, I think the whole thing is, how can you be so easily duped by all
Yeah,
these things that's happening? That's the thing. It ain't about Kanye or Ye or the latest internet scammer. It's, you need to be armed for anything that's going to happen, because something else is going to happen too. It'll be the newest form of somebody else wilding out,
and
and you have to have some discernment for yourself.
for me, um, this is like exhausting, but for me, it's my take on it is, this is really like five conversations happening at once. So, um, the first one being, you know, Jews run the world or Jews run the media.
Hmm.
Um, are there specific reasons as to why that may be the case, right? Could it be, if you wanted to go back and think about, or go back to, there was a period in time where, you know, Jewish people were lending money and charging interest and whatnot uh, when no one else was lending money after the war. Okay, fine. You know, you could say, okay, that wasn't right. Whatever, right? It has nothing to do with you today. But if that's where you wanted to go and say something like that to cite your displeasures, you know, at least you have a historical reference to be like, okay, I'm angry about this.
Hmm.
Um,
Is that the sentiment, or?
no, it's not. It's, but if you want to say that they own everything and we don't, that has more to do with the fact, that has more to do with our country's history and the way we've been treated in the country, like in our own country, versus with Jewish people.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because only like 0.2% of the population is Jewish, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I
you knew
don't know
that.
I don't know the demographics.
It's like it's very very, it's a very 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 small fraction of people.
Mm.
So so to use that as like the, oh, I'm going crazy because they own everything and we can't do anything.
Hmm.
Um, like that has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
Like that has you know what I mean?
Oh, well,
That's
it's obvious it doesn't, because um, any money that you make, you spend like an idiot. You know, it's like, if 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 I'm a person and I give you, say I give you $100 million, I give you, Jared, $100 million, and then you get mad at me for not setting up programs in 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 your household. I give you 100 million and you didn't set up a retirement account. You didn't set up investment account for yourself. You didn't send your kids to school. And then you complain to me and say the schooling needs to be better in my house. I don't have any retirement. I didn't buy a house. I don't own my own house. I don't own anything. I have no funding to start a business. How can I believe you? And I gave you $100 million. It may not be the $1 billion that I'm earning, but the money I gave you, you can't even you can't even organize that. Like, how is that my fault?
I don't know, and that's what when people respond in that way, that's what's like amazing to me. Like, I'm blown away.
So
Like,
it's just, let's take that to the level of each person, right? The person who hates their job, and you get paid, you know, $75,000 a year, and you don't set up these different things, right? You don't get out in your community and set up programs to to um to check on the 10 seniors in your house, in your neighborhood, who may not have enough food and water, or can't pay electric bill for that month because they're on a fixed income, right? You don't rally the people in your own neighborhood to help the people right around you. It's like the idea that we can't do anything because we don't have a little more is just false.
Exactly.
It's just false. It's false, the idea that we can't do more because they're not giving us more. Right? There's no systems in place to even, if somebody wanted to give your community right now some money and they gave, let's just say they gave me $1 million, right? Let's say I'm giving $1 million. Here's $1 million to do what you want to do. Do you know where to deploy that money? Do you know that the nonprofits might be in your area that help the homeless or seniors or kids or any of these type of things, education, um, um, better health in the community? Do you know the people that's already doing these things in your community? You probably don't,
No, not on that
right?
level. Not on the
Like
level where you can just be like start writing checks. No.
so like that's what I'm saying. Like, what are we doing? Like, you don't even have you don't you keep saying there isn't an infrastructure, but you haven't like seeked out what's available to you right now.
Well, no, he's too busy
If
telling everybody he's worth 11 million, 11
which is
billion
which
dollars.
is crazy. You can't. I can't believe that that people in Chicago haven't reached out to you and said, "Hey, we need this," or reached out to your people. Hey,
No,
we
they
need this.
have.
We're working on this program. We need this. We need funding. We get most of our funding from here, but we're short here. It's just like it's bullshit, man. That's what it is. And
I'm glad.
people
I'm glad you
people
brought this up.
people don't really care.
I'm glad.
Those
I'm
people
glad.
who are
No,
loudest don't really care
no.
because
I've been
they're
saying
not
people don't
doing it.
care. No, nobody cares about nobody. But I'm glad you brought this concept up because this is something we've never talked about. That I don't really want to talk about because it involves other people, and um, I just don't want that kind of attention. But you brought up the idea of if somebody gave you X amount of dollars, would you know where to send it? So, what do you think happened to Black Lives Matter?
In what terms? What?
Meaning,
Oh.
it started as like a social media movement per
Mm-hmm.
se that garnered enough attention to where people were like, I need to send, like, I want to donate to, like, give you
Mm-hmm.
guys money.
Right.
And so they formed an org so they can raise the money that people were basically throwing at them at the time. They didn't have
Right.
anything in place already.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing there. So, and through that org, they raised 90 something $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because this was a social media movement, there are chapters in each state.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did was they cut checks to all the chapters
Mm-hmm.
and said, "You manage your shit. Basically, take care of your shit in your community."
Right.
So because again, infrastructure is not in place. This is something that just happened in like 8 months.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
imagine you start a hashtag on Twitter and now you got 100 million in donations.
Yeah.
Um,
Got it.
so they cut checks to the chapters and said, "You take care of whatever you need to take care of in your communities." Just as you said, if somebody cut you a check right now, you wouldn't know, right? Just as
Mm-hmm.
you were saying, you wouldn't know who to give it to. You wouldn't know any health programs or any programs for the homeless. None of that. You'd have to either build them or work with local government
Mm-hmm.
in some capacity.
Which I'm on the search now, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But go ahead.
So, but the reason why I'm saying this is because there's one of the reasons that there's so much backlash for the organization, right? And I didn't donate. We've talked about it a couple times last season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly care for nonprofits. I won't say that, but I feel like my time and money would be better served by me doing something versus handing it to a company. because I'm capable of doing that. Now, if I wasn't capable, if I didn't have the time, and we were like this, we had extra money but didn't have the time, then I would give money to an organization that served a cause, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I don't understand why everybody is so mad at Black Lives Matter.
Well, I think you said it before. There's the uh, the hashtag, and then there's the actual organization. Or I want to say there's also the sentiment between behind Black Lives Matter, the saying,
Mm-hmm.
and then the actual organization. So, in
Yeah, I
other
mean,
words,
yeah,
people are trying to get across that Black Lives Matter. I mean that's pretty simple, right? We matter
yeah.
as human beings. All right, on the most remedial level that I can explain it. And then there's the organization, and this is the funding behind. Um, it's almost like the why, you know, the what, why, how, the funding needs for the
Mm-hmm.
and if you go to the website, I remember they had like a 10 point
Yeah,
program or example of what they wanted. So that's the funding that goes to those different programs, right?
yes, because
To
it's
establish some
their
type of
organization.
vision
Yes,
and mission,
yeah.
right? Um, but now it seems like BLM or Black Lives Matters has been more like a negative talking point for a political side to say,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know what they're saying. It's just I don't know. I don't
They're not.
understand.
They're not saying anything. They keep repeating. They keep repeating the same talking points that have never been proven.
Yeah.
They keep repeating that it's a scam because they bought real estate. There is no proof. There's absolutely zero proof. None. And their
Mm,
tax returns are public, bro. Like there's
yeah.
zero proof that any of that money was spent on Patrice's house.
Hmm.
But we don't care. Like it don't black folks don't care. Like it's like you said, as long as the headline, does what it needs to do, then we'll run with it. But nobody knows where that headline even came from. Nobody questions where it came from.
Yeah.
It's just as soon as it comes out, it's just I knew it.
And we talk about sources and having the right source of information. Doing some no one's going to do that though. Most people just not going to do that. And I do believe the headlines are just sufficient enough for people to, like you said, already say, I knew it, or I knew the time would come. Every time you're dealing with black people, it's always this and this and this and this, which is crazy. I gave a black business a chance, and then this and this and this happened. It's like it's so weird to me. It's so weird to me that's the sentiment that I see mostly. It's like
Mm-hmm.
um, I just talked to a neighbor, and she talked about how she was getting some work done on the house, and she got the work done. Called a black guy with a business, and whatever he quoted was more expensive, right? Than another quote she got, so she went with the lesser quote. And her thinking was, well, black business owners, they're always more expensive. And I said, well, what area is he from? Oh, I think he worked in L.A. I like, well, L.A. typically has higher quotes on their work that you need to get done because, for one, if they're coming way out here, they're coming 2 hours out,
Mm-hmm.
and also the cost of living is just higher there, so the cost of service is higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is my thinking. It's not that the person's black. That's not the reason why it's more expensive, or if for whatever reason the business didn't give you the service you needed or wanted or whatever. It's not because they're black. And this is what I hear from other black people. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a little weird self hate that I see in that whole thought that if it's a black business, it's lesser. And it's the old adage of I think an old story of uh, I think this is somebody I was actually talking to, and they said he went to go buy um, so he went to go buy a bag of ice,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a black store owner and then a white store owner across the street. And he walked across the street, got the bag, checked the bag of ice in the black man's um, ice chest, and then went across the street, bought the white man's ice. He said, well, two people on the corner looking and saying, well, why'd you do that? He said, well, the white man's ice over there is colder. I don't know if it's just, and that's either a story I've heard somebody tell me, but I've heard it again too, and that's like from like an old story from like 40s, 50s,
Mm-hmm.
60s around there. So that idea has been part of um, part of the culture for a long time.
I
But
mean, it's so. But the reason why I brought so I want to make sure I execute on a few points because um just because I know people are expecting certain things from us, and I want to let them. I want them to know not to expect me to feel the same way you do. So,
what you mean?
not you, but them. Like, because people
Mm-hmm.
automatically assume that you just side with Kanye or you side with whatever is going on because of your skin color. Um, but one thing I really want to touch on is the fact that, like I saw earlier this morning, from a popular influencer who we happen to know but shall remain nameless, that Jewish people wouldn't abandon their own people over something said about black people. And so it made me think. This lets me know how quickly people forget things. It made me think about Donald Sterling. Do you know who that is?
Mm-hmm. The owner of Clippers, the last owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who got caught in a private conversation
Mm-hmm.
using racist remarks
Yeah.
and was forced by other Jewish owners in the NBA
Mm-hmm.
and a Jewish commissioner, David Stern, to sell his business.
Yeah.
Now, one might say, "Oh, well, he still made out okay because he had to sell something."
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because you can sell what you own.
Mm-hmm.
They can't take it from you, but they can force you to sell it.
Yeah.
Now, in Kanye's situation, he doesn't own shit.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye's an employee. So, no, I don't have to buy you out because I own everything that you do. So you're fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, so to say that these things don't happen to other, like, I see why people get frustrated with us. Because
You breaking up
you,
so.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I was saying I see why people get frustrated because if we're gonna act like this is the first time it's happened and it's only happened to a white dude, when like 2 weeks ago Alex Jones or a black dude, Alex Jones has got a judgment against him for $960 million.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For for spreading conspiracy theories on his radio show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
$960 million.
Yeah. It's $1 billion.
It's a white dude. And
Mm-hmm.
then recently, the Suns owner Robert Sarver also is selling his ownership in the Phoenix Suns.
What happened?
Uh, Racist and misogynistic remarks.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like to your point. Yes, there's other examples of where other people aren't taking that shit either. You know, and rightly so. It's wild, man.
So I'm just saying, in regards to the point that this only happens to, they want to remind you you're black. This only happens to black people. They wouldn't do this to their own kind, blah blah blah, right? So in regard to that specific response, there are multiple examples of this happening as recently as 2 3 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's one thing. The second thing being, Kanye did an interview with Lex Friedman,
Mm-hmm.
and that was probably the most human he's been in any interview that he's done. And in that interview, he mentioned how he is just a marketer.
Who? Kanye?
Kanye, yes,
Mm-hmm.
this is out his own mouth, right? Because he still owes Big Sean millions of dollars. Let's not forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as much as he runs around and says like, I need, people are stealing from me, and we need to let artists create. He still owns the master, or whoever owns his masters probably still owns the masters to all of his artists,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he still owes Big Sean money, which is a real thing. But him, I forgot where I was going with that. Him doing that, running around saying all this crazy stuff all the time, like, man, I forgot where I was going. Nah, I feel like you.
uh, it's interesting too because he also talked about leadership and being one of the leaders, and there's not leaders in certain areas, and I think that's true because if there is leaders in certain positions, he would have already got his coattail pulled and his ass beat, and there's not a lot of that going on, and I can see that nobody's willing to check anybody on what they're doing on any level. You know, everyone's on an island. Like, dang, yeah, he's wilding out over there.
I mean, but he's also 46 or 45. Like,
Yeah, but that's
how,
young though. Like you talking about like leaders. Like, where's the 60-year olds, the 7-year olds, 80-year olds? You know, to be like, no, that's not how we moving.
but is that so? I'm glad you said that because there was a lady, I forgot her name, but there was a lady who came out and said something like, I'm not gonna publicly say anything to bring him down or something like that. Like we do that behind closed doors or whatever. Like black folks don't do that to other black folks, type of thing.
No,
Um,
that I get that. I understand. I understand that. But when something rises up to the top that's completely ignorant, we gotta check it. We gotta check it and say no, no, we don't move that way. You need to get back in line, get back on mission. You know, it doesn't have to be a tearing down of him, but to say publicly, no, we're not moving like that. We don't believe that. We off that. We're on this. This is the mission. That's off mission. Like is easily should be said because I think the harmful thing is the majority of people who aren't in those rooms who can quietly just say, "Hey, man, you need to chill and do whatever you're doing, and however you want to move in that way at those high levels." The people who aren't in those rooms, they need direction and leadership to be like, "Hey, yeah, guys, Ye's tripping. We talked to him. We're handling it, and no, that's not how we move it."
yeah, but
I don't see that.
who is that? Like,
That is my point.
who is that? But that doesn't exist. Like that doesn't exist in many people's lives. Like
that that's my point.
I know, but I wouldn't call that leadership though. I would like that's a daddy. So you
Well,
telling me he needs a daddy?
everyone needs some type of leadership in their lives to push them back on the right track. Like, no, that's not how we move. But not just based on some outside ideology, but based on what you say. If you say in your interview that God runs everything, he's the top of he's the top of the pyramid, and he's directing your movements, and then I go to your book that you believe in, and it's out of pocket with what you believe, that person has to be told that that's not exactly what you believe based on what you're saying,
Hmm.
based on your religion and person you're following. That's not how you move. So you telling me there's nobody that's a Christian or believe the same religion that he believes in that can tell him um, from the text that that's not how we do things. So even simple things like that, it's like you need to get your boy out the street. You know, like this is simple things. This is simple things. It's like if you wilding out or I'm wilding out, you can be like, yo, man, you wilding, and then I can be like, yeah, I'm wilding. Okay, that's people like who semi believe the same ideology, the same worldview, and you have nobody around you that's gonna say that's not what you believe. Based on what you tell me, what you believe, that's not how you move.
So I agree. I agree. But who's to say that hasn't happened? Because nobody's around him no more.
Well, everyone benefits from all the views of whatever you go on. That's the only reason why somebody like Tucker Carlson or Pierce Morgan has them on their show for the views and
Yeah,
the
but
views. And
how does he get there? How do you What I'm saying is, how does he get there? He doesn't go there because that's his first option. He goes there because there's nowhere else for him to go.
hmm well,
You
maybe
think he must like
maybe these things
these
are
people?
happening.
That's what I'm
People are
saying.
pulling away to say no, distancing. No, like no, you didn't go on no black outlets. They like no, we don't believe that. No, you wilding.
Charlemagne told. So he did like a whole run. He did the Drink Champs thing, and Charlemagne told Noriega, don't do this. And this is also another reason why this is selfish and irresponsible. Because if you go on all these platforms and do crazy shit, it's not about how you feel. You're jeopardizing my entire like livelihood. Because if you come in here and you do something stupid and I let it air, and then what happens when they cut my income?
hmm
I'm just supposed to be like, oh yeah, black man, you Kanye, I'm supporting you while we both poor, eating
Yeah,
dog shit off the curb.
we're talking about well, free speech and that type of thing.
Man, miss
Well,
me with all that. Like
it's not
that's
free.
I'm just saying, like you have to be conscious of like of the world outside of you. He thinks he can just go, or people like him believe they can just do whatever they want, and because they're only focused on them, not realizing there's consequences for other people.
Right, right. Yeah, it affects other people.
So he went on LeBron's show and tried to do the same shit. And you know what they said? They said we not airing this,
hmm Yeah.
right? He tried. I'm pretty sure he tried to get on Breakfast Club and Charlemagne's podcast, and both of those times it was a no.
Yeah.
And everywhere else he went, it was a no. So where does he go? He goes to Pierce Morgan.
hmm Yeah.
Like,
Because you want a platform to talk. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm pretty sure this has already happened.
hmm
They already told him no. Like this is not what you do. This is not how you go about it. And you listen to him talk on Lex Friedman podcast. You will hear it directly out of his mouth. I don't know what I'm doing. I am a marketer influencer.
hmm
I have about $100 million to my name that I've made just for whatever reason. Um, I don't know how things work.
hmm
I went to Adidas. I said, let me make my shoes and you guys produce them. Well, all the technology is theirs. It all belongs to Adidas. All the patented technology, it's all theirs.
hmm
So what if you turn the drawing in?
And it's probably part of the contract too.
It is part of they fired him, bro, and they're going to sell the remaining Yeezy stuff with Adidas logos.
hmm because that's the common contract where it says any intellectual property that you make here or create here is ownership of the company.
Exact. But he didn't want. He just like we talked about on the last episode. He didn't want to do none of the work, and that brings me back to my ultimate point of nobody wants to do the goddamn work.
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody just wants to be. Everybody wants to be here. I want to be in the light. I want everybody to see me. Nobody wants to do the work. So he
Right.
wants to go to Adidas and say, "Give me what you got. I'll make the drawings and shit, and it'll be cool." And then turn around and say, "Oh, they're stealing from me." No, you agreed to a royalty
Mm-hmm.
like that. You don't agree to that unless like. And I only dig into it this deep because everybody's like, "Oh, he has his master plan." Like, he has his master plan, and he'll be okay, and he's gonna save black people or whatever. And
And yeah, I
and
go
it's like,
back to
no, the boy's an idiot. he's he's a
uh,
marketer,
I don't know.
and that's it.
Yeah, I tire of talking about him. I'm
It's
disinterested.
exhausting. It's exhausting, but I'm telling you, it's
So
I
here's it.
I didn't realize so many people cared on that level. I didn't realize that many people identified with Kanye's struggle with Jewish people.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
didn't realize that.
that they just found out ago weeks ago.
Yeah, that, 2 weeks
And
ago, I
yeah,
I had
and
no clue.
that's just it's just a person with no framing, a puppet that's just gonna jump on anything that happens.
No
Um,
clue.
let me bring up another Mr. West. Have you heard of Moses West?
Moses
He
West. I have not.
he makes a he makes this machine that can grab water out of the air from I guess humidity. It's a big machine. It's probably like the size of like a small vehicle, and it takes water out of the atmosphere and makes it into pure drinking water.
Hmm.
I seen this on online. I started researching a little bit of it, and I found Googled his name, went to his website, and he has like a foundation where he does this. He dropped a large one in in Flint, Michigan, which is like the size of maybe like one of them big dumpsters, big green dumpsters,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's no, it's probably about the size of um a container or shipping unit. And he dropped it in Flint to make water. And it came to me because somebody put a video up a few weeks ago about how somebody destroyed the unit in Flint.
Mm.
So if you imagine, it's a it's something big as a container unit, and it's making water right in the middle of Flint, Michigan. And of course, we know the water in Flint, Michigan, been contaminated for years now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting that or interesting and sad that somebody destroyed that unit. Like went inside, beat it up, tore it up, and like they dismantled it, like knowing how it worked. So anyway, that led me into looking it up. Like, okay, who is this guy? The same time when all the yay information is coming out,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dang, like there's another Mr. West that's getting no no media um attention because
Mm-hmm.
we're dealing with these idiotic things that pop up all the time. So this is a black man who created this technology in partnership with a few people, and it literally grabs water, clean drinking water out of the air where there is no water. So applications can be for the U.S. military who might deploy somewhere in the middle of any somewhere
In a
that
desert.
needs water, right?
Yeah.
Where they have to either ship water in or fly water in. It's really heavy and it's hard to travel with it. Now they can drop this unit in and it creates water wherever you are. So this is going to be a huge issue because the lack of water is going to be the next catastrophe because everything's drying up. Everything's drying up. I read our water report in our city, and we have about 11 wells, and they're doing okay now, but the aquifer or the what is it? I think it's the I forget what it is. Right in the desert, that's been drying up for the last few years, and we don't get any
Mm-hmm.
rain out here in California
Nah.
to refill that up to a, a solid level. Also, the rain comes from if it snows on the mountains, it'll come down and also fill it back up. But anyway, so I started thinking about this. I'm just like, there's so many other different things that's happening, which is why we have to figure out how to shorten up our content and things we're looking at, and not just be consumers of whatever comes up, but trying to figure out what affects us personally, and then search those things out. And then you're just not like a person that's jumping from news headline and news headline, outraged at anything that
Mm-hmm.
ever happens. So to the point of people who don't actually look up anything. So I'm on. So now I'm in the comments, and this is another reason why I was just like, okay, I'm looking at the video. It explains what's going on, and we're looking at the same video. It talks about his foundation, his everything, and then in the comment it says, "Dang, how do we get in touch with this guy?" I'm just like, nobody heard the name of the company. I'm like, I googled the company, and it popped up, and then you have everything you need to read.
Nobody
So
wants to do the work, Dorrance.
I usually never comment, but I just commented on this, and I said his website is such and such. Such. It's something foundation. I'll get it later. And then somebody commented his actual page on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this the same guy? I'm like, yep, that's it. But I just scrolled just to see if anybody would say how you can get in touch with this guy, and nobody would Google it. Nobody would Google it. Nobody would take the extra step to do anything.
No.
So you talking about people don't want to do the work? Nobody wants to do the work. If you're
Nobody.
somebody, if you're somebody that takes the extra effort to say, is this content I'm reading real? And you Google or look at the source and try to figure it out, you are probably in the top 1 percentile of people that's
Mm-hmm.
doing
And that's a
a
sad
little bit of
realization.
work,
That's a sad realization.
which is wild because it just lets you it it's understood that the people who are on top, minus because of so many policies that didn't allow other people on top,
Mm-hmm.
you realize why they're still on top.
Yeah.
You realize the people who are successful, why they are successful, because they just doing that little extra step, a little bit of work, and not just waiting around for someone to give them something.
Man, that's on everything. That's I've seen that on videos of like somebody will make just a regular quick video about like a news article or a new lending program, and then someone in the comments will say need more info.
Man, but what what you got to really
Need more info.
spoon feed people. So his website is the Moses West Foundation.
Moses West.
So um, I mean, I just Googled Moses West, and it popped up his foundation and what he believes. There's easy videos for you to look at. A donate button if you're interested in that. But it just lets you know how simple we can make these things. And, I'm really uh, simplistic in my
Mm-hmm.
thinking and in my steps. I'm like, okay, this is the ABCs and 1, 2, 3 is how we get there.
Yeah.
And like, why is why? It's just like, I don't know, man. I guess you just gotta do it. You just gotta do it, and I think what's gonna happen is once you start, you'll find other doers is also out here doing it. Like you'll find each
Mm-hmm.
other in the desert and say, "Hey, oh
Mm.
you Googled too?
Yeah,
Yes, I
because
Googled too. I Googled too. This what got
y'all
us
the
here.
only ones, y'all the only ones doing the work.
That's what's gonna happen. You're gonna see other people. Oh, you Googled. You know,
Yep.
the Google grad. I mean, it's in your name.
Yeah,
Like
man.
I Googled it and I looked it up. I did a little bit of research. I did a little bit of research, and now we're doing this. This is wild. Now we're all out here. 10 people all Googled the same thing, and now we're in the same location doing putting in the work.
It's
So
sad. It's a sad realization. It's it's just sad. It's sad that it has to be that way. But to your point though, I think people just I think it's just hard for people to simplify certain things. That's all.
well, no,
And
I
maybe
think
maybe you got to bump your head a couple times before you're able to do that.
yeah. In
But
order to bump your head, you got to get up.
yeah, that's true too.
You got to
Yeah, you
move.
right. You right.
You got to move. Like no one's moving. No one's moving. No one's showing up. But I guarantee you, if you show up by yourself, don't try to rally the troops or rally your best friends or people around you, your mom and dad. No, you go alone. You go alone and you Google it, you figure it out, you show up, and then I guarantee you, you're gonna see other people who also did the same thing, and then you build from there. Rallying the people around you to try to do whatever project you're interested in, it's just not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You end up being a simple consumer of anybody else's ideologies. That's usually coming from some type of entertainer, and then you just sit and complain about things and give your opinion. Like we all got like national syndicated radio shows or
Yeah.
something. It's like it's just crazy. It's all absurd, man.
God, this episode was exhausting. It don't even feel the same. Like, ugh.
Yeah. So in other news, so the IE got its first civil rights institute in Riverside, downtown Riverside.
Okay, so let me
Uh,
stop you. Let me stop you though.
mm-hmm.
So I gotta go pick up my kid at 12:30.
Oh, okay. So are we gonna wrap
So
it up?
I think. So here's what I think. I think that we gave the world their Kanye episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is it.
All right. Yeah, I'm
And
fine.
then
You can
from
reset.
from 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 this moment forward, this is it.
Yeah.
I don't care what Kanye do. We've established that he's not worth listening to. At least in my opinion. I won't say that.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say that. We've established that it's not a serious thing. It's it's just a person having a situation. Um, so we don't have to contribute to that no more.
Yeah, that's what I like.
You know?
Um, well, as things comes up, uh, we'll I think it just be shortened. I think it just be shortened. Um, stop being duped. I mean, it's serious in the fact of you know, it it doesn't move us any forward.
No.
There's no call to action there. There's no meat. There's it's it's something that this is gonna do no one good. It brings no good. It brings no good to anyone, um, including our community. That's my position. You know, that's person that I don't agree with. I don't agree with those sentiments, those ideals. Um, period. So there we go. There's your Rich
Yeah,
by
there's your
Monday
Kanye
take.
episode.
You know, and then
I almost feel like we should drop this separately and then maybe deliver another episode
I mean, this would be an episode, and then we'll pick up on the other things.
because we got to I feel like we got to do 2 episodes a week now. I think we can do it.
Mm, yeah, yeah. If it's scheduled, I think it's possible.
I'm just thinking
It
about
just be
just
shortened up, you know.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it would be but I think we'd be able to I think we'd be able to push out. I would like to believe we'd be able to push out 2 a week because we got to get the numbers up, and then once we get the numbers up, then we can really go after like some money.
The Monday.
Yeah, like
uh,
Gillian Wallow just signed like over $100 million, like with Barstool. And I'm not trying to compare us to them or saying like that's the goal, but just knowing that they gave two dudes $100 million for talking about nothing.
right, right.
They'll be talking about nothing. They just be out just acting crazy, kind of like us. We just
But
be
you know what
chilling.
though? They did the work, you know.
Exactly. So I'm
So
saying like
they
that's
deserve whatever offer they get. You did the work,
absolutely.
you know.
So
Did the work.
if we could if we could hop on that, build that discipline, compound that discipline of 2 shows a week. Um,
Well, you know, I saved 2 hours on Instagram, so the time is allowed it. I have the time there. you know, I was doing 2 hours a day on Instagram. That's 14 hours a week. That's 14 hours a week,
yeah, 14 hours a week. Yeah,
just
I
in
know
2 hours.
mine's is a lot more than that. So I'm gonna go look.
And start crying like, oh, I
Yeah.
gotta get my life together. I gotta do the work. I gotta do the work.
um. All
Yeah,
right. Well,
which
yeah.
is good. It feels
Sounds good.
good for me to like, hey, this is the time I come and talk, and then I'm out. I'm out again, guys. You know, I'm going to support. I'm going to come back and report on what my dealings was for the last few days. You don't need a
Yeah.
daily report. My life's not that interesting. I'm doing the same thing every day. Every day, I'm doing the same thing. So let's give me a few days, and then I'll impart the wisdom that was bestowed upon me through my daily encounters with the people around me, and then maybe it might help, maybe it won't, but that's how we're gonna run it.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. I guess we go ahead and wrap it up. Thank y'all for listening and tuning in, and hopefully you made it through the whole episode and it wasn't as exhausting as us to make it.
Yeah.
And you know, make sure you go to the website richbymonday.com. Go get your merch. Still 20% off site wide. Use code
Mhm.
RBM20. Um, Found another vendor, so we're working on. I'm trying to hammer that in right now to make sure we can get the same manufacturers and whatnot. But it'll all be taken care of soon. Uh, Anything else you want to add?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, we'll see y'all next week on an episode that has absolutely nothing to do with Kanye West.
Yes, thank you.